What's up, guys? So have you ever wondered how much you spend in product every time you wash your car? I've been curious of that, but I've never actually tried to do the math. I buy a lot of product I'd like to try out and stuff like that, but I never really figure out, like, what do I actually spend in product when I use it on my car? Today, we're actually not doing one of my cars. We're doing a wash and wax on my cousin's RAV4, right? So she has very graciously offered her car for the purpose of today's video to be detailed. And so we're actually not doing a wash and wax, we're doing a decon wash and a spray sealant, but more on that later. And this is all the product that we're gonna use today. And you don't really need all of this stuff to do this job, but it's what I would use on my car. And so we're gonna measure everything that we're gonna use today, do a little bit of math, do some wizardry, and come up with a value of what all of this stuff costs. And we might actually take it a step further and try to come up with how much we're using in terms of water, electricity, and maybe even depreciation of tools and towels if we wanna get really fancy. Come with a total of cost of goods, I guess, would be the example here. So let's go through the product really quickly and get set up for wheels, and we'll talk about how we're gonna do all this. So here are the usual suspects. So let's go right down the line here real quick. We got some P&S brake buster for the wheels contact wash. Got some koch-chemie multi-star and diluted 1:6 for the wheels pre-foam because they are super dirty. I think they're gonna be a little bit of a hassle. Also for wheels for the contact wash, just in case, I got some CarPro D-scale 1:10. Got some CarPro Lift for the whole car pre-foam. Gonna dilute this 1:10. I got a little bit of it left. I'm gonna try to use it up. For the contact wash, we're gonna make some active foam with Green Star and Gentle Snow Foam. Got some Iron Buster. For the clay bar, which we're actually gonna use the Nano Skin Auto Scrub, we're gonna use some McKee's N914 Rinseless, diluted 1 to 128. Got some eraser for the wipe down, Stoner Invisible Glass, 303 for all of the outside plastics, because this car has a lot of outside plastic. Hyper dressing, diluted 1 to 4 for the wheels. And then finally, koch-chemie S002 for the spray sealant. I love this stuff. I've been using it a lot lately. Did a video on this recently. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out. Fantastic product. But yeah, so that is our list. I'm gonna break out the scale. We're gonna measure all of this stuff before and after, and then do our math, figure out how much we used, figure out the cost of all that stuff, the value of it, find out how much we're actually spending in product here. So let's get a look at the client's car here. So it is pretty dirty, but not terrible. A little bit of bug guts and stuff on the front, nothing crazy. The wheels are very dirty. Paint looks like it's in pretty good shape, only a couple of years old. A little scratching right here. Polishing would take care of that. We're not going to do that today. I think I can reach the middle here without having to get a step stool. I don't know. We'll see. I might need to. I might not be able to get the exact center. Damn SUVs. Yeah, man. Them wheels are tragic. Hit these wheels with some multi-star N real quick, get all this grime ripped off. Okay, now in order to figure out how much product we're using here, I'm going to weigh the bottles before and after using them on a digital scale and get that weight in grams. Then to convert it to milliliters, we just take that number and divide it by the product density value, which you can usually get from the safety data sheet. Though sometimes that value is missing, so whenever that was the case, I just substituted with a reasonably similar product. Now, it's worth pointing out that the pricing for this stuff is not going to be 100%. For one, these prices don't take into consideration like shipping costs and taxes and stuff like that. So this is just the base cost of each of these products. And also, I'm using an average current price in, fairly common sized bottles, maybe a few large containers, as opposed to what I paid for mine. Some of these products that I have, I got on sale, like the Multi-Star N, I got this on sale at Car Supply's warehouse when they were having like a 20% off sale, or the hyper dressing that I've had for 3 years. So the current price of it is probably not the same that I paid for it back then. And then of course, the cost of all of these products are going to vary depending on where you buy it. Now, I picked a couple of different stores to get, a little bit of variability in the pricing, but it may be off a few dollars per product. And then finally, some of these products are, in fact, all of these products are available in larger containers, and the bigger the container, the cheaper it's going to be. So for example, I bought this 5-gallon jug of brake buster from Obsessed Garage. So obviously this is going to cost you less per ounce than a 16-ounce bottle. So all that to say that these numbers aren't going to be wildly out of range. They're not going to be 100% exact, but just assume like a small margin of error. And because I am a child, wheels are done. Pre-foam is done. Contact wash is done. Iron remover is done. So now we are at the clay bar phase. So I got the N914, get everything clay barred, keep moving along. Had a little time out here. I just had a minor panic attack. Got the wall mounted pressure washer here. And when I came in, I realized that like everything was kind of wet a little bit. But like I had the car right at the edge of the garage, I had to move it. And then I had it there when I was doing the iron step. So I figured like some of the spray kind of like came in here and misted some stuff. And then I realized it was like only certain parts and like the wall wasn't wet or anything like that. I'm like, uh-oh, hose was kind of wet, all the piping and everything. Anyway, long story short, it took me a minute to realize that the pipes are carrying very, very cold water. It is super warm in the garage. What happens to piping and hose carrying a cold liquid when the ambient temperature is really warm? Condensation. It took a minute to come to that conclusion, so it was a little bit of, whoo. Okay, time for the math. So we're gonna take the mass in grams for each product that we used and then divide that by the density, which is expressed in grams per milliliter, in order to get the volume in milliliter. If the product is already diluted, so like I had a couple of products here that were pre-mixed, you take the total weight in grams and then divide that by the number of diluted parts first. So for example, if you have a product that is diluted 1 to 10, that's 11 diluted parts. Next, in order to get the cost per milliliter, we're going to divide the cost of the bottle by the bottle volume. And then finally, we're going to multiply that price by how much product was used in order to get a total cost for each product used. And quick note on density, I thought it was kind of interesting to find out how density works during this whole process. So for example, Gentle Snow Foam has a density of 1.05, while Brake Buster is, I believe it's 1.109. So the higher the number, the heavier it is. And I would have thought GSF, since it's so thick, would have been a higher density than the Brake Buster, but that's not the case because density isn't about thickness so much as it is the weight of dissolved solids. So that's kind of interesting. Now here's why I went with a spray sealant over a waxing. So, you know, this car is a daily driver, does a lot of city driving, a lot of highway driving and stuff like that. It sits outside, it's not garage kept, it's not a show car or anything like that. So even though a waxing, you know, you get that beautiful, warm, kind of waxy glow. Given the conditions that this car tends to see day to day, I just think a spray sealant, especially one like the koch-chemie S002, is going to give better protection, right? It's going to be super glossy, so very noticeable gloss, great hydrophobics, and it's just going to last longer. So the waxing, you figure that might last maybe 6 to 10 weeks, give or take. Whereas the spray sealant is going to give you 3, maybe 4 months of protection. And like I said, when it rains, it's going to bead better. It's got solid UV protection. And, you know, the client in this case is just going to see better results over time, I think, over the waxing. So that was the logic here. So here are the full results of all the product used. And actually this table is a little bit shortened versus what I had originally worked up because quite honestly, it was just too much data to present on the screen. So I did put all this stuff in a Google Doc. If for some reason you want to check it out, I'll link it in the description below. But there were a couple of things in here that were sort of eye-opening. So first, what's not too surprising is the cheapest and most expensive product per milliliter. So in the cheapest product per milliliter, we have the invisible glass at a little bit more than half a penny per milliliter. And then of course, the most expensive product, also not really surprising to me, was the koch-chemie S002 at about 6.8 cents per milliliter. And then let's talk about the total cost. So for the hyperdressing, we have about 5 cents for the amount used, and that is a product diluted 1 to 4, which by the way, again, like I said earlier, I bought that over 3 years ago, I bought a gallon of it, and I don't even think I'm a third of the way through. So buy a gallon of that stuff. If you like it, it will last nearly forever. But the eye opener was the amount of Iron Buster that I used. $9.70 worth of Iron Buster. That's insane. So two things that I'm getting from this. One, I probably used too much, and two, I probably could have gotten a little bit more economical use by atomizing it more out of a pump sprayer. So I get that. But in this case, I used almost 10 bucks worth of Iron Buster. That's wild. So yeah, this one was kind of eye-opening for me. It's in second place, we have the Gentle Snow Foam. I used about $6.15 worth of that, and then the eraser at $3.93. So that is our bronze, silver, and gold winners right there. So in total, we spent $28.72 worth of product to do a decon wash and a spray sealant on this midsize SUV. Now, I also tried to figure out other costs that went into this detail. So quick breakdown here, I have water usage at about 28 cents, electricity at 12 cents, depreciation of tools and towels at roughly around $2, use of the pressure washer at about 30 cents, cost of DI resin used in the final rinse at $4.60 for a total of $7.45 in extras. And that gives us a grand total of $36.17 that went into this detail, or, roughly the cost of a 24 pack of Corona. All right, man. Well, I gotta tell you, this one was a little eye-opening for me in terms of how much product I actually used and how much the product cost. So it's kind of cool. I thought it'd be an interesting video, but I was kind of surprised at some of the results. Actually, the original intention of this video was to make it more broader in terms of the original title was, what would I charge for this free detail? How much would I charge for this free detail if I wasn't doing it for free? That's not the title. How much would I charge for this detail if I wasn't doing it for free? That was the title. That was the original idea. But I found myself going down way too many rabbit holes when it came to trying to put a value on my time, right? So it's just all over the place. Like whether you've got a shop and you have to factor in overhead, if you've got a mobile detailing van, if you're just doing it out of your house as like a side hustle kind of thing, what your time is worth in terms of experience, just way too many variables there to consider. And I felt it was moving away from what my core interest was, which was trying to determine how much product that we use. So anyway, maybe we'll save that for another video, but in any case, hope you enjoyed this video and I will catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.